Israel is expected to free another 26 Palestinian prisoners. It is the third of 4 planned stages since the U.S. brokered agreement to resume peace talks in July. CCTV's Stephanie Freid joins us now live from Tel Aviv with that story. Stephanie.
Well, right now, Elaine, I'm talking to the CCTV cameraman who's there on the ground in East Jerusalem. This is an area where this was the controversial area where some of these prisoners are being released to. 5 of the prisoners from East Jerusalem, he said that they went by. They did not stop. No celebrations as we saw in Gaza or in Ramallah. This happened within the last half hour. And the reason would be because East Jerusalem, this prisoner release, these 5 people in particular, is more controversial. And the reason is they hold Israeli citizenship. This is the first type of release of people from East Jerusalem of this kind. They hold Israeli citizenship, which means they're free to move about. They have social benefits, pension, health care. This infuriates families of the victims of these prisoners who have been released, who appealed to the High Court to have their release overturned. But that was turned down by the High Court. So essentially, there is no celebration there public. And that would have been part of the terms right here of the deal. There wouldn't be a public celebration. They would go quietly to their homes. No big hoopla as we're seeing now in the West Bank and Gaza as the other Palestinian prisoners come back to their homes.
Well, Stephanie, you mentioned this, but the prisoners are rejoining their families in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. As opposed to the past 2 releases, this is different. The element of East Jerusalem and Palestinians being released, as you mentioned, has caused some controversy. Can you explain that?
Well, again, the controversy is really over the fact that the families of these victims, of these prisoners, are saying these people hold citizenship. They have benefits. They can move about freely within Israel. They're absolutely up in arms. They're absolutely feeling that it is a slap in the face to them, to their families, in the memory of the people who were victims of the Palestinian prisoners. So certainly Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that this is a difficult decision, that this was a difficult move to make in another release. And that's what he is referring to, is the backlash from these families. Certainly, the families, as I said, they appealed. They wanted it overturned, regardless of whether this move in the larger picture could mean peace with the Palestinians in the long run. To the families, that doesn't matter.
While this is all happening, Israel's government is expected to announce further settlement on Palestinian land. Doesn't that contradict the act of releasing these prisoners?
In a sense, absolutely. And this isn't the first time that this has happened. This is a political move, this sort of announcement. And that would be to appease this same constituency and right-wing coalition members who would be up in arms over this prisoner release. It also infuriates the Palestinian negotiators and the Palestinian policymakers who say that it essentially amounts to land grabbing on the part of Israel's government before there will be a final stage deal. It amounts to essentially hunkering down on land, making it more difficult to secede in the long term. It doesn't only infuriate the Palestinian policymakers, also EU Quartet members and the U.S. administration. Namely, a few months ago, Israel's government announced the same sort of thing, intentions to settle on Palestinian land. Direct pressure from Secretary of State Kerry resulted in a backdown from Israel's government. This could possibly be the same move here, that it'll be cosmetic. There will be a move backwards from Israel's government. But at the moment, this is the sort of thing it happens, it's cyclical, and it does infuriate many sides. Elaine?
All right, CCTV's Stephanie Freid reporting live from Tel Aviv.